Legend has it that once upon a time, bug number 19 emerged from one of these markets in China due to the consumption of exotic animal meat. Monkey, bat, orangutan. All those kinds of exotic animals that carry viruses and parasites combined with some human virus. That's what happened in 2019, which we all know about, but is all that true? And how about bat soup? Let's find out. In these markets, we see all kinds of animals for sale. They give them to you in pieces or alive. They don't cook them for you anymore. It's very rare for them to cook them, but yes. Here, there are many animals that I've seen in zoos. Some that I've seen in markets where they give them to you alive, and some that I've only seen in the jungle. These kinds of markets still exist all over the country. In English, they're called wet markets, but they're basically meat markets, with animals and live animals. Rural areas and big cities, especially in the south of China. The further south you go, closer to the border with Vietnam, the stranger the animals you'll see. Alright, let's go into this famous market and see what we find. Hello. Hello, excuse me. Hello. Let's see what we have here. There's so much to explore here, guys. Was China to blame for what happened in 2019, that event we all remember, that paralyzed the world's economy? And you couldn't leave your house and had to wear a little mask? You already know which event I'm referring to, since it still hasn't been fully clarified what caused it or where it came from, but the theory is that it was here in China. And I finally came to have my bat soup for educational purposes. Of course, we're going to explore all the accusations, what is known, what isn't known, and what the chances are of it happening in the future. When can we expect an event like the one in 2019? And would the epicenter be right here, the food markets in China? Look, in that alley I heard noises like little animals howling. Let's see what we find there. I'm already getting hungry. If I find some soup, bat soup or snake soup, anaconda, right now I'd eat it with how hungry I am. This time I'm specifically looking for bat soup. Why? Nobody knows exactly where bug 19 came from. There are two main theories, the two most accepted by the scientific community worldwide and by the general public. Number one, that it escaped from a research laboratory, and number two, that it emerged from the consumption of bats. That this virus, which exists in bats, had a third party, an intermediary, and then merged with other viruses that affect humans from the corona family. So the theory says that this virus emerged exactly from a market like this, where bat meat is consumed. That's why I'm looking for it right now. I'll explain why. Let's continue with the search. The smell is a bit strong and it's hot. We're at about 45 degrees. Yeah, this is going to be an experience and we'll see. These are like cow tongue. It would be like having a cow tongue taco. Do they look good? There's the price for the little turtles and they give you those little turtles alive. So if you want one as a pet, don't go to the pet store to pay 10 times more. Just come here and buy it by the kilo. And what about those who just say, it's only a matter of time before China sends us another pandemic with their viruses and their food? Well, it's only a matter of time before the world faces another pandemic. Yeah, living in cities with millions of people isn't natural. It's like having thousands of chickens caged up on a farm. Of course, there are disease outbreaks. Human beings are made to roam freely in nature, not to be packed together in boxes, in skyscrapers by the millions. Yeah, well, I keep looking for the bat soup, asking around, going all the way to the farthest corners. This theory about the origin of bug 19 has been a point of debate among governments and the scientific community since 2019. And this theory is the most widely accepted one, that it has a natural zoonotic origin. It started in a bat. Then other animals that also eat bats were sold in this market, or the bat itself. And by consuming the bat, the animals that eat it and people. That's how what we now know as 2019 was unleashed. Well, personally, I don't trust any source, none. I don't trust the World Health Organization. I don't trust the authorities who appear on the news. I don't trust those who deliver the news. I don't trust the government of any country or consider it a 100% reliable source. I don't trust the pharmaceutical industries either. I don't trust anyone, at least not 100%. You have to keep an open mind. Just like I don't believe every conspiracy I see on TikTok. They have devilish music and images created with artificial intelligence, and a robotic voice also made with artificial intelligence. I don't believe that. But I also don't go to the other extreme and blindly believe everything the authorities or governments tell me. I'm going to keep searching. That bat soup, it has to be around here somewhere. Someone has to have it. Then the President of the United States, Donald Trump, he refused to refer to this bug by any of the names given by the bacteriologists and referred to it as the Chinese bug. This inevitably gave China a very bad reputation worldwide, and not just because of Trump's words. Generally, the world saw China as the epicenter of the pandemic. Things like this for consuming grotesque, disgusting, and horrible meats, and they also associated it with a lack of hygiene. Simply customs or practices that the rest of the world is not used to seeing. But honestly, this market doesn't seem any cleaner or dirtier to me than the average market in Mexico. And if people start accusing Mexico of being filthy and giving pandemics to the world, then they're going to get offended, right? So you have to treat everyone the way you want to be treated. You have to be fair. I mean, if you're going to accuse the Chinese of something, let's avoid falling into generalizations. We shouldn't say all people in China are disgusting and eat horrible animals. Let's remember there are 1.4 billion people here in China, 1.4 billion human beings. We can't paint them all with the same brush, just like it bothers us when people say all Mexicans are drug dealers. It's the same thing, folks, the same. Treat others the way you want to be treated, no matter what your opinion is about where the bug came from. What I can see very clearly here is a big effort by the Chinese government to change the image and stereotype of the country. And yes, they are putting in strict regulations, and I've been walking around this market for hours and I haven't found anything. And I've been to several markets in the city, and in all of them they tell me not anymore. So we do have to admit that this ban has worked. It has really limited the availability of these products. Now this reduces the risk of another bug appearing since I'm not an expert in bacteriology. But what if the bug really did come from one of these markets and the cause really was eating exotic animal meat? So I would say that at the very least, there is a real reduction because I've visited about 30 places here in China and I haven't found any, and I've talked to people. I've asked about 20 or 30 people and they've all told me there aren't any anymore, it's very difficult now. And this is because in 2019, the Chinese government totally banned it. Not just the consumption of bats, but of all terrestrial animals that are considered exotic. And that's where the whole list of animals comes in. Monkeys, arihuelas, bears, anteaters, pangolins. Amphibians, fish, and reptiles were banned, but some are still not prohibited. And that's why here you see snakes being sold alive, dead in pieces, skinned, no pun intended, but not cooked. You have to take them home to cook them yourself. So this restriction on bat consumption with heavy penalties did have an effect. The proof is that I'm here and I can't find bat soup. Sorry to be a party pooper, but there just isn't any anymore. That's it. You can't consume meat or any food made with any prohibited or controlled animal, dog, cat, bat. All of that, at least here in the city of Shanghai, in the main markets of the country. I'm already in the past, and look guys, honestly, I came here very excited, very enthusiastic, very motivated to come to China to make this video. I had wanted to come for years, and I said, I'm going to go to China, I'm going to go to the markets, and I'm going to show you guys the exotic animal soups. And it's going to be a huge hit. The video is going to get millions of views. I'm going to shine with this video. You're going to love it. And I'm also going to give you information about the pandemic. and the animals and everything. And I give some statistics, my typical video. But when I got here, I realized that the reality is different. You imagine a report in your mind, but when you get to the epicenter where you're going to film, the reality is different. So they told me the only way you can try bat soup is if you go to a rural area and hire a lady who lives there. But by doing that, I would be creating an artificial reality that honestly no longer exists. I wouldn't be showing you the real China anymore because this bat soup is no longer something that happens here in China. So I don't want to just show you something that's no longer real just to get views. So, no matter how boring the video might be, here I show you the reality of exotic meat markets in China. They're no longer there, and I'm not saying there aren't people who still consume it. Of course there are, but selling it openly in a market like this, that's no longer the case. And this is the job of the independent YouTuber, to show the honest reality of the countries you visit. And this is the difference between a YouTuber and a television reporter. Television stations tell their correspondents and special envoys, are you going to show us this? Are you going to fabricate this? This is the narrative you have to stick to. If the reality is different when you arrive, you adjust, set up, and figure it out. But this is the message you'll send. I arrive, see the reality, and show it to them. If it doesn't match what I planned, that's just how it is. So now we can relax. There won't be another bug out there that's gonna paralyze the world, right? Well, most likely we will have another outbreak of a bug at some point in our history. Because there are billions of us humans, most of us living in cities, it's biologically impossible not to have outbreaks of bugs. But what I hope is that when the next outbreak happens, is that this time the media can inform us with transparency and that governments can also stick to that transparency. Because regarding what happened in 2019, we will never know the truth. We don't even know who to believe. They only destroyed the trust, the little trust we had in the government in Latin America, and they destroyed the great deal of trust that citizens did have in the government. In developed countries, they divided us, turned us against each other, sacrificed the world economy, and exposed pharmaceutical companies. I hope that outbreaks of bugs are not used as a reason for deception or for taking advantage of the most vulnerable. And well, to say goodbye, this alley I'm walking into, this dark alley, seems like the perfect place for the final thought, the final reflection to end the video. I hope that humanity can continue moving forward and increasing life expectancy in a healthy way without pandemics. Let pandemics and outbreaks be a thing of the past. That we can find a way to live in cities in an urban way as many prefer without the risk of outbreaks. For that, we need a lot of progress in hygiene, in modern medicine, in research, but above all, to share information clearly and honestly. What happened in 2019 for many was a story like that of Peter and the wolf, that boy who cried, who shouted wolf, wolf, wolf. They panicked us, they scared us to the maximum. And I'm not minimizing those who really suffered because of the bug. I'm just saying that there was so much fear that if it happens again and it's more serious, well, we won't believe them anymore. Let's hope not. May courage be with you, and see you next time.